Madhu Kunya Srimad, His Divine Grace, Abhaya, Chanana Bhagavatam Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, Jai, ISKCON, Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, Ananda Goti, Vaishnava, Vrinnikajaya, Acharya, Srila Viras, Thakur, Jai, Prem, Se, Go, Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Vichananda, Shivwedi Gadana, Sivasadi Gaur, Bhakta, Vrinnikajaya, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopala Saim Kunda Kunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Goswami ki jai, Mai ki jai, Shrimati Tulasi Devi
Jai.
Veda Bhakti ki jai, Gaur Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru All right, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 15, text 49. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Viduro
Api
Parityaja Pravase Deha Atmanaha Krishna Veshena Tat Chitaha Vitrivihi Swashayam Viduropi Parityaja Vase Deham Atmanaha Krishna Veshena Tachchitta Trivi Swakshayam Viduropi Parityaja Vase Deham Atmanaha Krishna Veshena Tachchitta Trivi Swakshayam Viduropi Parityaja Pravase Deham Atmanaha Krishna Veshena Tachchitta Trivi Swakshayam
Viduropi Parityaja Pravase Deham Atmanaha Krishna Veshena Tachchitta Vitrivi Shwakyayam Yaya Viduropi Parityaja Pravase Deham Atmanaha Krishna Veshena Tachchitta
Viduropi Parityaja Prabhase Dehamatmanaha Krishna Veshena Tachchitta Pitrivi Sashayam Yayau
Viduropi Parityaja Pravase Dehamatmanaha Krishna Veshena Tachchitta Vitrivi Swakshayam Yaya.
Ladies,
Viduropi Parityaja Pravase Dehamatmanaha Krishna Veshena Tachchitta Vitrivi Swakshayam Yaya. Viduropi Parityaja Pravase Dehamatmanaha Krishna Krishna Vishena Kachita Vikrivi Svashayam Yaya.
Viduraha, Vidura, the uncle of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Ape, also. Parityaja, after quitting the body. Pravase, in the place of pilgrimage at Pravasa. Dehamatmanaha, his body. Krishna, personality of Godhead. Aveshena, being absorbed in that thought. Tat, his. Chittaha, thoughts and actions. Vitravihi, along with the residents of Pitriloka. Swaksheha, his own abode. Jaya, departed. Translation: Vidura, while on pilgrimage, left his body at Pravasa. Because he was absorbed in thought of Lord Krishna, he was received by the denizens of the Pitriloka planet, where he returned to his original post. Okay, so, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The difference between the Pandavas and Vidura is that the Pandavas are eternal associates of the Lord, the personality of Godhead, whereas Vidura is one of the administrative demigods in charge of the Pitriloka planet and is known as Yamaraj. Actually, that fan is a lot of white noise. Can you turn it down a little bit?
You can turn it off.
Well, I turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off, whatever. I don't want it.
Down at the bottom.
At the bottom button. That's better. White noise will put everyone to sleep, including me. Men are afraid of Yamaraj because it is he only who awards punishment to the miscreants of the material world, but those who are devotees of the Lord have nothing to fear from him. To the devotees he is a cordial friend, but to the non-devotees he is fear personified. As we have already discussed, it is understood that Yamaraj was cursed by Manduka Muni to be degraded as a Shudra, and therefore Vidura was an incarnation of Yamaraj. As an eternal servant to the Lord, he displayed his devotional activities very ardently and lived a life of a pious man, so much so that a materialistic man like Dhritarashtra also got salvation by his instruction. So by his pious activities in the devotional service of the Lord, he was able to always remember the lotus feet of the Lord. And thus he became washed of all contamination of a Shudra-born life. At the end, he was again received by the denizens of the Triloka and posted in his original position. The demigods are also associates of the Lord without personal touch, whereas the direct associates of the Lord are in constant personal contact with him. The Lord and his personal associates incarnate in many universes without cessation. The Lord remembers them all, whereas the associates forget due to their being very minute parts and parcels of the Lord. They are apt to forget such incidents due to being infinitesimal. This is corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, text 5. Of course, that's the verse where Krishna says to Arjuna, many, many births those who and I have passed, I can remember all of them, and you can end. Just to tell you what that verse says. So, Vidura pi parityaja pravase dehamatmanaha Krishna vishena tatshita pitri viswakshayam yajao. So, Om Gana, Chimananda Shagan, Chanam Shlakaya, Jakshuram Minigam, So, of course, Vidura is one of the Mahajanas, the Dwadasa Mahajanas, the 12 great souls who set an example for us in devotional service. And as one of the 12 great souls in devotional service, he follows Krishna's description of a great soul in the 6th chapter, text 30 of Bhagavad Gita. Anyone know that text? No. I Yomam Pashati Sarvatra Sabam Jamai Pashati Kashaham Na Pranashami Tachame Na Pranashati. Where Krishna says, one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me is never lost to me, nor am I ever lost to him. So what do I mean by that in relationship to Yamaraj? That, of course, he was cursed by this Manduka Muni. So, this curse, he accepted as Krishna's will. And we see this as a very common denominator in the cases of, frankly, every pure devotee. When something happens to an unfortunate or unfortunate, they see Krishna there, as Krishna says in that verse in the Gita, which I quoted. Pure devotee sees Krishna everywhere and in everything, and of course he's never lost to Krishna because of that. In other words, not a blade of grass, to put it in your common Christian language, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So anything that happens is happening by Krishna's will. And of course another example of that is the personality of Dharma, who was being attacked by the personality of Kali. And as he was being attacked by the personality of Kali, Maharaj Parikshit came, and Maharaj Parikshit asked him, who's done this in Dharma, basically, after giving a philosophical explanation. He pointed out that it was Krishna's will. And therefore, he did tell Parikshit Maharaj to attack Kali, which is interesting. Generally, we blame someone or some circumstance for our pain in this world, right? And of course, a real devotee, what is it? Ajata Shatrura Shanta Sarva Sarabhushana. One of his qualities is that he doesn't have any, what? Enemies. And that's also Maharaj Yudhisthira was like that too. So a devotee, he accepts that. Of course, at the same time, we should understand he doesn't blame his own stupidity on Krishna. For example, and I think you experienced that in New Orleans, when devotees would drive in a car and they fell asleep and people died, or they made some mistake and people died, Prabhupada was approached, and the devotees said to Prabhupada, "Is this Krishna's mercy?" Prabhupada said it was their stupidity. So we can be stupid, so don't blame them. Don't make a mistake, then fall asleep while driving and say, "Well, just Krishna's mercy, I died." Of course, you didn't say that, you're dead. You ended up in the hospital. Of course, you might say that. It's just Krishna's mercy. I'm in the hospital. He wanted it. No, you were an idiot. Or if you eat something that makes you sick, like Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said that disease comes from overeating. So if you're overeating and you get sick, you can't say, "Well, it's prasadam. I just ate like 200 pounds of halava." I mean, so what's the problem? It was purifying, just following Prabhupada's instructions, eat until you're filled to the neck. Well, that instruction is actually for new devotees. And after 50 years in the Hare Krishna movement, you're not a new devotee anymore. Humbly you may think so, but you're not. So you can make a mistake. Like Prabhupada even said, so many stalwarts have fallen down in the name of Mahaprasadam. Now, that doesn't mean you don't take Mahaprasadam, but you honor it. You don't just gorge yourself on it. And especially if you gorge yourself on things that are too opulent, your lust will increase. I mean, it's a fact. What is it? Vacho vegam? Manasa kroto vegam? Evil vegam? Udurvashta vegam. That refers to also overeating prasadam. I hate to tell you that. Anyway, so getting back to the point, you can't just blame Krishna for everything. We see Krishna everywhere and see Krishna in everything, but also, there's 5 factors of action, according to Krishna in the Gita. And one of those factors, of course, is the doer, ourselves. Of course, is the place, the endeavor, and one of the factors is super soul. So be aware of that. So anyway, so Yamaraj, he made a little mistake when he was dealing with Manduka Muni. And that mistake was that he punished Manduka Muni because when that Manduka Muni was a kid, he pierced an insect with straw or a blade of grass. And later on, when Manduka Muni was older, some dacoits took shelter in his ashram. The king blamed Manduka Muni for giving the dacoits shelter, and the king pierced Manduka Muni with a lance. And Manduka Muni didn't die. And when the king saw that, the king understood, well, maybe I made a mistake in punishing Manduka Muni. And so he tried to remove the lance. He couldn't remove the lance. One of the reasons he's called Manduka Muni is it means the Muni with a lance. Because the lance stayed in his body for his whole life. You know, that's pretty nasty. Yeah. Anyway, the king was repentant. And Manduka Muni didn't blame the king. You know, he went ultimately to Yamaraj, and he blamed Yamaraj. Why'd you do this? Yamaraj explained, you know, you pierced an insect with a blade of grass. And Manduka Muni said, you know, this is nonsense. A child should not be blamed below a certain age, like 8 or something like that, and for his activities. And he said, from now on, a child will not be punished in that way. And therefore, actually, you don't have to follow Ekadasi after you're 80 years old. Before you're 8 and after 80, so I'm just waiting. A few more years to go. So, a lot of years to go. Yeah, a whole bunch of years to go. Hopefully I'll make it that long. So anyway, so Manduka Muni cursed Vidura because you acted stupidly, and that's what it means to be a Shudra. Actually, Shudra means someone who doesn't have discrimination. Also, Prabhupada described a Shudra as someone who laments and hankers, you know, like Brahma-Bhuta Prasanatma Sachati Kamshti. So someone who was lamenting, oh, I could have done this, or I lost this. You know, like country and western songs. Oh, Peggy Sue, I'm so blue, I lost you, my dear Peggy. Anyway, so.
You made that up.
What's that?
I think you just made that one up.
I did. Because I used to love country and western songs. So, anyway.
Buddy Holly sang a pig.
Well, I think there was a tune.
Buddy Holly said pig.
Yeah, okay. Not my what's on the last. Or you're hankering for something. Oh, I must have that, I must have that. No, just like, sometimes we see a fancy car, like the other day I was with one of the life members and he had a Tesla. You know what Tesla is?
Yeah.
And he showed it to me, and he showed how to push a button and the doors like move up. There's gull-wing doors.
Yeah.
I go, wow, I would like one. Anyway, that's hankering. But then I thought, you know, if I drove around in that, I mean, everyone would criticize me. So better I just stick to a Prius. So, which is my fault. So anyway, so there's hankering, lamenting, Shudra. So Vidura was cursed to become a Shudra. However, he saw Krishna behind it. That's the point I'm making. And he actually understood what Krishna's intention was. I mean, many times things happen to us and we don't understand what Krishna's intention is until about 30 years later. You know, why the hell did Krishna do this to me? You know, I've been serving him so many years, so many artis have I done, so much. Like Yogendra, so many artis, so many Mangal artis have I come to, so much food I've cooked, I sacrificed my family, and now why is Krishna giving me old age in spite of all that? What an ungrateful master he is. Anyways, so sometimes it takes a while for us to understand why Krishna has done something, but at least we should understand it's Krishna. Okay, but Vidura understood, because it was actually his desire. You've got to be careful what you desire, actually. He desired to preach, you know, because he was there as Yamaraj, and most of the time it's just administration, you know. You go to the sugarcane press. You get thrown off a mountain. You get to embrace the red-hot form of a woman or a man. Okay, bad. You know, it gets to you after a while. And you think, you know, I got enough administration, I got to hit the road and preach. So, you know, he wanted a vacation like anybody else. He was thinking like that. And he understood Krishna was reciprocating. So you really got to watch out what you desire. Because if you ask Krishna for something, he may give it to you, and it may not be something that is going to give you ecstasy. I mean, of course, I always tell that story about Pushaya and the desire tree when I'm here, right? You heard that story?
No.
That Pushaya, I was with Pushaya in Vrindavan, and I was embracing the desire tree and begging the desire tree that he would remain unmarried. And I told him that. And he got really angry with me, and he ran up to the desire tree and embraced the same desire tree and had the opposite desire, and he was married very quickly thereafter. So there's a question. It works. It actually works in your desire trees. And then there's another instance I had in Vrindavan. I was with a group of devotees, and they were disturbing me. I was guiding them on a pilgrimage in Vrindavan. And they're doing what devotees normally do, arguing with each other. Loving relationships. And I said to Krishna, make some arrangement so I don't have to go on pilgrimage with these people. I actually said that to Krishna. And next thing I knew, I was in the hospital. I'd been attacked in the most unlikely place imaginable, in the bathroom. The toilet split and it cut me like a big gash. You imagine, that's the only place you're probably safe. Of course, most accidents occur in a home like that. So you have to be careful what you want. Don't ask, be careful when you ask Krishna for something. You may get it in a different way than you had planned. Unless you give Krishna all the fine print on the contract. Like the demons, they go to Lord Brahma and they say, I don't want to be killed by the daytime, the nighttime, or man, or beast, or any weapon. And Lord Brahma says, okay. And he fulfills the promise, but they still get killed. So, anyway, Vidura, or Yamaraj at this particular juncture, he had that desire to preach, and he knew that Krishna was doing it. And so, therefore, he took birth in a very interesting way as a Shudra, as he was cursed, but his mother was a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And his father was also a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What do we mean by that? Well, there's that story that Vitrachavirya, one of the sons of Satyavati and Shantanu, does anyone know this? Everyone knows the story? He died because he got married to these two girls that grandfather Bhishma got, Ambika and Ambalika. And he died because, he was just like too much involved in sense gratification. And that's what happens when you involve in illicit sex life or too much sex life. The Ayurveda says your ojas becomes depleted to the extent that you die, or you get Alzheimer's disease or something like that. Prabhupada said that. Prabhupada said one who engages in limited sex life, then the men, by the time they're 40 or sometimes 50, Prabhupada said they wish they were dead and having so many problems in the body. Because the Ayurvedas described that each drop of the seminal fluid is equivalent to like 80 or pounds of blood. There's different descriptions Prabhupada gave at different times. And the Ayurvedas say that. So that's not just something coming from like disturbed sannyasi like me. So it's a fact. The Ayurvedas do say that. So anyway, this Vitrachavirya died before he had any children. Satyavati was in anxiety. How are we going to have the next king? She was concerned with succession. Succession means who's going to be the next king or prince or whatever. Who's going to be the next temple president? Maybe we should call Vyasadeva to have a new temple president. Anyway, in the future. It's interesting. Think about it. So she called for grandfather Bhishma, and Bhishma said, no way, I'm taking a vow of brahmachari life. I'm not going to have a relationship. Because it was allowed in that time for a brother to have a child with his brother's wife if the brother couldn't have children. That was allowed. Only if the brother couldn't have children. Not in other circumstances. So Bhishma said no. So then she revealed that before marriage, she had this nice child named Vyasadeva by Parashara Muni. And so she had this deal with her child that every time she thought of him, he would come. That's a good mother and child relationship. So she just thought, Vyasa. And Vyasadeva, of course the word Vyasa means he who divides the Vedas, because he divided the one Veda into the four Vedas and then the Itihasas and Puranas. So Vyasadeva came and she said to him, okay, you should have kids by these two girls, Ambika and Ambalika. There was a third girl, Amba, but she was the cause of death of grandfather Vishnu. It's a different story. That has nothing to do with class. So therefore, Vyasadeva said to his mother, not a good idea right now, give me 1 year. Because he had just come from the forest executing austerities, and his hair was completely like matted, filled with tree sap. He was gaunt, his cheeks were in like that. And, basically he looked like someone from the forest, frightening. And he said, I don't mind looking like this, but, girls, they like to see someone who's half decent. So it's like, I'm frightened if you walked into your room right now. So, unless you had spiritual vision. But if you're a materialist, you'd be frightened. So she said, no, we have to have another prince immediately. Don't hesitate. He said, all right, I warned you, there's going to be bad results from this. And she said, I don't know. Just do it, son. And as an obedient son should always obey the mothers. So, as an obedient son, he went first to Ambika, and Ambika was expecting some really handsome sage to come in, because Vichitravirya was quite good looking. He was really, as we say in Spanish, guapo. Is anyone in Spanish here? Anyone in Spanish here? Guapo. That means handsome, like anything, Anyway, so he was quite the man, Vichitravirya, but Vyasadeva didn't look the part. So he walks in, and you have this Ambika having all these expectations, and she takes one look at him, and it's, oh my God. And she just closes her eyes, and as you know, as a result of that conjugation, we had Dhritarashtra being born, who was blind. So when Satyavati heard that, she said, all right, let's try it again with Ambalika. Okay, try it again with Ambalika. So Ambalika was pre-warned or forewarned by Ambika. You understand that, you don't want to have a blind kid. So Vyasadeva walks in, and she doesn't close her eyes. She keeps her eyes open, but she's so scared to death that, guess what? She just turns white, pale, all the blood rushes out of her face. That's what happens. And so as a result, Panda was born, Panda was white. He was born, he was white, very sickly, has a lot of health issues. And then Satyavati is still not satisfied. All right, we got one blind kid, one sick kid. Let's get a normal kid. So she goes to Ambika again and says, you got to do this again. I know you didn't like it, but, go for it, lady. And she's completely upset. She's thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to do this. And as a result, she puts her maidservant forward rather than herself. Actually, it was Vichitravirya's maidservant rather than her maidservant. That's what the Maharaj says. Anyway, and so this maidservant had to be a pure devotee. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vyasadeva walks in, and the maidservant bathes his feet, worships him, appreciates his spiritual position, and as a result of that conjugation, Vidur was born. So the point is, it was all arranged that Vidur would have a pure devotee mother and a pure devotee father. Because Vyasadeva was obviously a pure devotee, and the mother was a pure devotee too. because she had taken shelter of Vyasadeva. Even if she wasn't an absolute pure devotee before the relationship, by taking shelter of Vyasadeva, she became fully purified. So Vidura is born, and Vidura had the enviable service of preaching in a very difficult circumstance to his brother, Dhritarashtra, and he was continually preaching. He was made the prime minister, but without any real power of the kingdom. And he was the advisor of Dhritarashtra, and he really drove, his advice really drove Duryodhana crazy. Made Duryodhana extremely angry. And eventually, Duryodhana insults him to such an extent. He says, "Who asked this kept son of a maidservant to give you advice?" And Vidura, understanding he's not going to be able to do anything in that particular circumstance, he goes on pilgrimage. And during the Battle of Kurukshetra, he was on pilgrimage. Actually, Balaram was also on pilgrimage during the Battle of Kurukshetra for a different reason, because Balaram didn't want to take sides. He was Duryodhana's martial arts guru. Actually, a name for Balaram is Duryodhana Guru. It's interesting, one of my godbrothers was named Duryodhana Guru by Prabhupada. And so, of course, we always call him Duryodhana. That's why you got to be careful what you name someone. Like if you give them a 2 or 3 part name, nobody's going to use more than the first part. Like, Kamsa Mishudana, we always call him Kamsa. So, for those of you who are gurus, take hints from that, That as Westerners, we don't use full names, we just use introductory names. So, anyway, so Duryodhana was accepted Balaram as a spiritual master, and Balaram also didn't want to oppose his brother Krishna, so he went on pilgrimage. So Vidura went on pilgrimage too, and there's many stories about Vidura's pilgrimage. He comes back after the Battle of Kurukshetra, and then embarks on perhaps his greatest preaching endeavor, which is to convince someone, that is Dhritarashtra, who's living like a household dog. Dhritarashtra is living there with the Pandavas, his sons, not sons actually, but they're in a village relationship, they'd be considered sons, his brother's sons. He's living with them, and not only is he living with them, but they had actually, especially Bhimsen, he had killed all of his sons, 100 sons. And not only that, but Bhimsen kept hitting his arms like this, and saying, "With these muscles I kill your sons." To add insult to injury. He's living there with the people who killed his whole family, killed his sons, and especially the person who actually directly killed his son is bragging about it. That's Bhimsen. And so what happens is that Vidura comes back and he says to Dhritarashtra that, look, you're living like a household dog. Not only that, you're old. You don't have that strength anymore. He used to have the strength of 10,000 elephants. He was really strong. That's why after the Battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna did not want Dhritarashtra to hug Bhimsen. You know that story?
Yes.
That Krishna arranged for Bhimsen to put like a statue of himself. That was like the practice statue for Dhritarashtra, for Duryodhana in fighting. So he put that statue in front, and then Dhritarashtra crushed that statue. And after that, he got rid of his anger, at least at that particular point. Gandhari also, she was pretty angry. She cursed Krishna's dynasty to die after the Battle of Kurukshetra, something like 34 years afterwards, to self-destruct, which happened actually. The other dynasty self-destructed. And then she looked at Yudhishthira's feet, and Yudhishthira used to have very beautiful toes and feet, and they curled up, became ugly after she glanced under her blindfold. So Vidura, getting back to Vidura was preaching to Dhritarashtra. He said, you don't have that strength anymore. Plus, your teeth are getting loose. in those days they didn't have dentures, I guess. In America, during the Revolutionary War, the dentures were made of wood. You can imagine dentures made of wood. It's not a very nice thing. And so your teeth are getting loose. You're already blind. You've been blind since birth. So take advantage while you've still got strength and head for the hills, Vanaprastha. Actually, similar to what Talavana Maharaj told his father. He told his father to take Vanaprastha, actually, So anyway, so Dhritarashtra, after this urging by Vidura, he and Kunti and Gandhari went with Vidura to the woods. And of course we know that they later were burned up in a fire. There's some descriptions that it was a yogic fire coming from Dhritarashtra. Other descriptions was a forest fire. But in any case, they burned up in a fire. And Dhritarashtra, because he was committed offenses against the personality of God and his devotees, he didn't actually go back to God and he got personal liberation. That's described in Bhagavatam by Prabhupada. But Vidura continued his austerities. Yudhisthira wanted to bring Vidura back to Hastinapur. So Yudhisthira went out there to rescue Vidura, or bring Vidura back. But Vidura, he ran away when he saw Yudhisthira and he filled his mouth with stones. That's there in the Mahabharata. Now, why would one fill his mouth with stones? Well, can't talk with Jalpa then. Of course, you can't chant Hare Krishna. But, so anyway, he filled his mouth with stones. Just as we know, listen to a story in the Bhagavatam about this young girl, this young girl who was entertaining some men who would perhaps be marriageable candidates for her. And so she had bangles up and down each arm. And she didn't want them to discover when she was in the kitchen that she had to do the cooking herself. So she gradually had to remove, because bangles were clanging, she gradually had to remove all the bangles except for one on each arm. And so the moral of the story is, the Avadhuta Brahman tells the story. The Avadhuta Brahman says, from this I learned that by yourself you're not going to talk too much prajalpa. But you put two people together and talking is there. Isn't it? Automatically it's like, boom! It's all sorts of talking. By yourself. I mean, that's why when I go on a japa walk, I like to go by myself. Because otherwise you start talking. I mean, like, if there's preaching, that's good. But otherwise there's talking. How are you? Or at telephones too, it's another problem. Someone calls you up on the phone. How are you? I'm fine. How's the kids? They're fine. What are you doing? I'm talking to you on the phone. It's so much a waste of time. Isn't it? Like Prabhupada, I was with Prabhupada and we were in Los Angeles with Prabhupada, and the devotees were showing Prabhupada the telex machine. Some of you may not know what a telex machine is. Telex machine is like a typewriter where you type on, it types the same thing 1,000 miles away. They used to have faxes, no faxes anymore, but that was before faxes or email or text messages or WhatsApp or whatever. And so we were showing Prabhupada his telex machine and, typing out to New York, to the New York Temple also had one. All the way to Prabhupada. New York Temple didn't respond. This is a story that's in the Prabhupada, I believe, Prabhupada Vilamrita, one of the books. So, and they didn't respond. Eventually, the devotees typed out, Prabhupada is here, and they typed back, all glories to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, at that point, you're just going to use this to talk for japa. And that's really what modern media is mainly used for. I mean, if you go on Facebook, which I use to present Krishna consciousness, we're on Facebook right now, actually, you'll see that most people are posting, look at this nice apple pie that I cooked tonight. Devotees do that. Isn't this scrumptious? And then you get all these comments. It looks delicious, Devi Dasi. So I said, yeah, I wish I could make this evening. Can you send me the recipe? Oh yeah! And you get like 1,000 comments on Davy Dassi's pie. So, in the meantime, the people that have been preaching Christian consciousness and done something practical. You know, here's a picture of me as a baby. I mean, even one time I posted a picture of my baby picture on Facebook. So, anyway, Prajalpa. So, Vidura had these stones in his mouth, and that was to keep himself from talking family talk, you know, Ramya Kata. Because obviously, if he talked to Yudhisthira Maharaj when Yudhisthira Maharaj came, it would have been, how's the family? How's Bhimsen doing? Yeah. They still eat a lot? Yeah, he still eats a lot. How's Nakul and Sade? They still think they're handsome? Yeah. How's the treasury? Yeah, the treasury's good. But that's not appropriate for Vidura, and that's what would have happened had he talked to Yudhisthira. So therefore he had stones in his mouth, ran away from Yudhisthira, left this world, and regained his position as Yamaraj. He is a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he punishes people, or rewards them. He also rewards people. So, any questions or comments about these points? Questions, comments? Yeah, read.
The point you raised about, actual causative factor. What is the ultimate? I understand your point is that we should be responsible for our actions.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what is the ultimate understanding of if something bad happens? Even though I did it stupidly or whatever, but what is the ultimate thought?
Well, if you do something stupid, and you had prior knowledge, ability to do something else, we just acted out of passion. Usually, when we do something stupid, it's out of passion. You know, that's one thing. It's not, out of ignorance, you don't do anything. It's actually safer. Like Prabhupada talks about, what, active stupid, or, lazy stupid, or active intelligence or lazy intelligence. So he said, of being stupid, it's better to be inactive stupid. But if you're active stupid, you can create a lot of problems. So, passion means not to plan things out properly, basically. If one is too passionate, they're not planning things out. As they say, of course we often say this, one who fails to plan plans to fail. Or you're driving too fast, or you're not thinking that I'm too tired to drive, but it's all right. I'll push myself. I remember, of course, in the beginning days of the movement, we were all overtired practically all the time. I mean, I remember taking most of my naps at the stoplights, and I was woken up by the horn camera from the car behind me. So this is passion. Maybe good intention. The road to hell is paved with good intention. We had good intention. We wanted to please Prabhupada, well, but it wasn't goodness. Devotees are in different modes of nature too. They have goodness, passion, and ignorance. Lord Kapilade describes this in the 3rd canto of the Bhagavatam. So we should plan things out, take precaution, and if things still go wrong, that's Krishna. But if if I do something stupid, let's say today, I'd say to Bruce, let's go bungee jumping. And the rubber band breaks. That's stupid. Because why should I go bungee jumping? How is that connected to Krishna? If I do something, I make it deliberate nonsense, then I'm responsible for it. Of course, I should examine the rubber band first, whatever they call it, I don't know what they call it. I've never gone bungee jumping, and I will not go bungee jumping. So, we're responsible for our actions, too. So, yes, but ultimately, man proposes, God disposes. Ultimately, it's up to Krishna. And we have to see Krishna behind everything. And also, we see, if we get an adverse effect to one of our actions, Krishna's teaching us something there, too. ultimately we do see Krishna, but we don't blame Krishna. We say, Krishna is showing me I was a jackass, a fool, and I did this. Now, I'm not going to do it. Also, when you see Krishna behind something, you also have to change your behavior too next time. Everybody, not everybody, but, all of us, not all of us, I don't want to speak absolutely, but most of us make a lot of mistakes, but we should only make the same mistake one time. You hear that in leadership. Leaders make a lot of mistakes, but good leaders usually make only one time each mistake. They don't repeat mistakes. So, if something happens, what can you do? It's Krishna. So, any other questions or comments? Yeah.
Yesterday, Maharaj, you were saying how the Pandavas are actually expansions of some of the Vrajvasis.
Yeah.
And so
I don't know
I'm
which
just wondering where that was. And not that I doubt it, but I'm interested.
I guess you can Google it.
Okay.
But in the, because Prabhupada describes that they're Nitya Siddha devotees, descending from the spiritual world. Prabhupada describes that. And in the Brihad Bhagavatam, it describes that all of the Nitya Parshada devotees are actually expansions of devotees in Goloka Vrindavan. So that's taking two together. That's using logic, which Prabhupada said is philosophical speculation, which is using philosophy to draw a conclusion based upon logic. And so, because the Bhagavatam says, the Brihad Bhagavatam, says that the residents of the other planets, the eternal associates of the Lord, are expansions ultimately of Vrajavasis. Now, who they're expansions of, I don't know. Don't have reference,
We had a lively after-class discussion one day about, I was mentioning that I felt like, for me, being unqualified, not being able to imagine myself going back to Godhead, but I would really like to stay in Lord Chaitanya's movement. I think I've said this before to you, and probably in an immature way, but that's my sentiment. And the people, some devotees were like, "No, you shouldn't think like that. You should think you want to go back home, back to Godhead." And so there was a debate about it, and I just wondered your thoughts.
Well, there's a famous quote from Prabhupada where the devotee said, "I just want to serve you life after life," and Prabhupada said, "No, you should want to go back to Godhead." But ultimately, going back to Godhead means we just want to be an unwanted servant of Krishna. And you're going to go back. There's a southern place in the world, southern Goloka, where they speak Sanskrit with a southern accent.
And you'll be my guru there.
No. You'll be one of the rednecks in this version. But that's interesting because generally, the reason Prabhupada responded like that is when people say, "I just want to serve you life after life in the material world," the person's desire is to remain in the material world. Prabhupada's seen through their statement, because to say that someone just wants it, Mama Janmani, Janmani Shreya, Bhagavata Bhakti, Hoita Tichwaye, means that they're a pure devotee. Means that they have no desire for liberation or karma or anything like that. So I would say I would just express this Ashabandha thing. Ashabandha means, anyone knows what it means? It means hope against hope. That even though I have no taste for devotional service, no taste for chanting holy names, no compassion, I know that Prabhupada's going to save me. My favorite verse in the Shishashaka in that regard is Ainanda Tunuja Kinkuram, Patitam Mam, Vishamay Bhavam, Kribiya Tapapada Pankajas, Dita Vilusaja Sampachiti. O son of Nanda Maharaj, I'm your eternal servant, and somehow or other I've fallen down into this horrible material world. Please fix me up as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. And that's a general prayer, which can refer to going back to Godhead or continuing to serve. So I'd like to just repeat that prayer. I, Nanda, oh, son of Nanda Maharaj. Is that all right?
It's very wonderful, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments before we get on to our real life meeting or something?
I mean, Maharaj, I
Yeah.
just wanted to thank you so much for
Yeah.
your decades of staunch and unwavering devotional service to Srila Prabhupada, and especially all these years that you've been coming to New Talavana and encouraging us and putting up with us. And so really thank you so much, Maharaj. We really appreciate your service.
Thank you, and thank you for putting up with me throughout all these years. With all my, eccentric humor and everything like that. And thank you for all the service and the steadiness. I mean, the devotees who I've seen here year after year, they have Jayanti here year after year, the cow, I mean, all of you. And Yogendra's up every morning, rise or shine, rain or shine. He's like the U.S. Post Office. Hail, sleep.
He is, literally.
Yeah. He's Nishta personified. So all the devotees here who've been serving throughout all these years, and of course the devotees who've joined recently, the children of the devotees, I mean, it's a nice community. I think when we talk about any community or any situation, we always just see the glass is half full. And see the part that's empty as a challenge. See, sometimes people see the part that's empty as a negative. But we see it as a challenge. Well, it's great to have a challenge, isn't it? Life without challenge is boring. It's like, just like, who was that demon I'm thinking of right now? With 1,000 arms who just like, No, who's beating his arms against the mountain.
Arjun, what's his name?
Kartavir Arjuna.
Yeah.
Kartavir Arjuna. He didn't have any challenges. He's just like beating his arms against the mountains. That's kind of boring life. And of course he finally got his comeuppance. So it's good to have challenges. A life without challenges is death. Right? We should always be giving like Prabhupada, you see, his life, he was always giving himself challenges, pushing himself to the max. At 70 years old, giving himself a tremendous challenge that none of us would be up to at this point, at our age. And he did it. And when he was in New York, he was talking, I have so many temples, they're just not manifest. I mean, that was a challenge. I mean, you can say that he had, he could see the future. That may be too. But really, he was giving himself the challenge. 108 temples before he leaves this world. Can you imagine that?
No.
Not at all.
I mean, it's just, he gave himself a challenge. He had a vision. And so that's really how we can be successful in anything we do. If the glass is half empty, that's the challenge. Go for it. Or like Prabhupada gave us the challenge of producing 17 books in 2 months.
Yeah.
And devotees said impossible. They were negative. And Prabhupada said impossible is a word in the Fool's Dictionary. He said if you actually have faith, he challenged us. If you have faith, you rascals. I was there. I witnessed the whole thing. And devotees got it together. They took up the challenge. So we have challenges like that. Let's take up the challenge. I mean, no one here is that old.
It's relative.
Well, who here is over 70? One. Just one person. Two. And you're still doing agriculture.
He's sharp. Too.
Yeah, sure. All right, you got 2 people over 70. I'm not over 70 yet. Anyway, and Prabhupada came to America when he was 70. It started a whole movement. Don't think it's time to go to Mayapur and Vrindavan and just live there forever until I die. Here devotees, I'm moving to Mayapur now. How old are you, Prabhu? I'm 50. I've had it with this material world. Right?
3 months bored.
3 months more what?
3 months you'll be bored.
Yeah, 3 months you'll be bored, and you'll be in the holy Dham doing nonsense,
Yeah.
which we see happening in Mayapur and in Vrindavan. So much nonsense going on between. No. You know, the Prabhupada said, give me the benediction of dying on the battlefield, like Arjuna, like a Kshatriya. That's Prabhupada's move. So there's there's no one really old here in this room. Julius, how old are you?
Me?
Yeah. You Bob.
I'll be 67 in October.
Young man.
Yeah.
The best years of your life are just ahead of you.
I'm fired up, Maharaj. You got me going.
Okay. All right, on that happy note. All glories to His Divine Grace. Hey, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada.
Dear Krishna Maharaj.
Namo Vishnu
Prabhupada.
Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami.